there's a lot more that America and Israel can do. I think I don't see a coherent joint strategy in place. It's the only way to restore quiet and peace in the Middle East.
All right, Israeli former Minister Naftali Bennett, joining us now to talk about this whole explosion. John Ratcliffe, former Director of National Intelligence. John, welcome as always. So, you know, sometimes one and one don't make two, but it just seems to me that after Kamala Harris met with Bibi Netanyahu, she issued such a statement that was more of a criticism of Israel than Hamas, and bingo, within 24 hours or so, or whatever, all of a sudden Hezbollah starts raining down rockets on these poor children playing soccer or European football in Israel. I don't know. Is that a coincidence in your judgment, John Ratcliffe?
It's clearly not a coincidence. What it is it's a clear demonstration how clueless Kamala Harris is about geopolitics generally, and the importance of what American leaders or prospective leaders say and what they signal to our allies and to our adversaries. And so when she went out and put a statement after meeting Netanyahu and said, "I will not be silent," and essentially portrayed a false narrative that somehow Israel was attacking innocent Palestinians as opposed to Israel responding to an attack by Hamas Palestinians, she sent a message to Hamas and to its puppet master, Iran, and to Hezbollah, that these kind of actions against Israel would be tolerated by the Biden-Harris administration. Look, she's off to a terrible start in terms of trying to demonstrate that she has the capability to serve as commander-in-chief and make good decisions. The first thing that she did was to blow off Bibi Netanyahu's speech before Congress that she was supposed to convene. Instead, she went to a sorority meeting. And then she comes out with these comments that, as you correctly point out, Larry, really led directly to a Hezbollah attack on innocent Israelis, something that is becoming all too common under the Biden-Harris administration and would continue under a Harris administration.
And, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but I don't really care what Hezbollah says. They're using Iranian rockets. We've seen this story before. And the fact is that Druze inhabitants are pro-Israel Arabs, so it's just as much as they're going after Israel. But the thing is, John, here's what I don't get. I want a policy, which we had briefly right after the horrible October 7th massacre. What happened to let Israel finish the job? Let Israel finish off Hamas once and for all. Or whatever happened to the de-Hamasification policy that some of us talked about then, like the de-Nazification policy after World War II. Or even at a minimum, John Ratcliffe, when will the United States government, the Biden-Harris administration, restore the sanctions on Iranian oil, because that's their source of financing for Hamas and Hezbollah? The sanctions, the oil production, which China is buying, of course. Why, those are just some little ideas how to make this story better so that, Bibi Netanyahu can say we know good over evil, okay? We win, they lose. I don't hear any of that stuff anymore.
Well, you're not going to, Larry. You're not going to hear it from a Biden-Harris administration. You're not going to hear it from a Harris administration. You're only going to hear those things if Donald Trump returns to the White House in January. I mean, if Kamala Harris is elected, we'll have 4 more years of the same disastrous decisions and policies that have emboldened and enriched Iran for the last few years. To your point, Larry, about what happened was the Hamas wing of the Democratic Party, the progressives, got loud, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris wanted to win a presidential election, and they let that dictate policy. They put politics and power over national security. Can't tell you, Larry, how important the Israelis are to us. They are an indispensable intelligence partner to us in the most important volatile region in the Middle East. And the Biden-Harris administration has flipped it on its head. And what's most concerning to me, Larry, is Kamala Harris wants to run the exact same disastrous foreign policy playbook that Joe Biden has been running for the last 4 years. Case in point, her chief foreign policy advisor is a guy named Philip Gordon. Who's Philip Gordon? Well, he was a State Department official under Barack Obama and was an integral part in drafting the disastrous Iranian nuclear deal that enriched Iran, gave them billions of dollars, and really put them on the path to start all of this in the first place. All of which you know, Larry, firsthand, Donald Trump reversed. And the only thing that changes this is Donald Trump and a maximum pressure campaign that left Iran poorer, broker, and less influential than at any time in the last 20 years. But the good news to the American people is we can put our foot back on the throat of the Iranian terrorist regime as soon as Donald Trump gets back in the White House.
I reckon so. John Ratcliffe, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I didn't know about Gordon. I forgot all about that, but that's a very important point. Same guy, you're going to have same results, which are not good. Anyway, John, thanks ever so much.